this video I will show you how to put together this Jolly Santa gift box, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. It's a Santa decoration and a gift box. I'm not going to go over all the pieces all at once. I'm just going to get sections of it. So we're going to go in sections, but these are all the pieces. There's some face pieces, lid, box. We're going to actually put together the boot in red, so it's easier to see, but so I did pre-make portions of the boot, but we're going to do it in red because black is too hard for me to show you how to put together. So that's that. And so let's go ahead and start, shall we? So I pre-made the boots in black, and I did that because it's just too hard for you to see the assembly of gluing it together with black. So we're going to do red. I'm going to use this as an extra. What's nice about this file is that you could use the boot file, the same size or a little bit larger, to make a little mini boot treat box, Santa treat box. So you could make it a little bit bigger to make it easier to put together, but anyways, that's what it looks like when we're finished. So we're going to work on this red one. So this is the fur piece. So you can go ahead and pre-fold it like so, and you'll see I'm using the dash lines, cut lines, and that's default file. I do have solid score line, but some of these, especially the boot, will be harder to put together. Even I found it just a little bit difficult to do some bending, so I'll probably be doing more if I get a little bit more involved with 3D, more polygonal, it becomes harder for us to fold. So I'm using the cut lines, and it just makes it much easier, especially when we have to do mountain folds like that and valley folds the opposite. So we have a couple of those in the little boot. So let's go ahead. You want to just go make sure that these are folded well. So I'm only going to show you one in red. So we'll have two of those in the file. I am using American Crafts textured cardstock today. This is, I used black for the boots, but this is crimson. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put that aside, and these are the bottom panels. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. So for each boot, we have these pieces. So this is the back. This will be the top edge. So you want to fold that. So just pre-fold everything, and I'm showing you how to fold it. These, I've already folded this, but this will say R. There's a cutout that says R on one, what goes on the right, and left for the other one. So the way we fold this is fold it back, and then you want to do a valley fold on this. So that means an inside fold. Mountains this way, natural fold down, and valleys a fold up. So you want to do that. And then same thing here. We want to have a valley fold. Get a good fold there. Like that. So you want to make sure that's a really good fold here. So first thing I would do is take this one. So we're going to put those aside just for a minute. Just put them up here. We're going to take this one and glue these sides. So I'm using art glitter glue today. So because we have no other panels on top, be careful with your glue usage up here. You might want to have a little damp paper towel to be able to wipe the excess. Right now I'm just using my fingertips. I do have a damp paper towel on the side. So just make sure if you do like a light coverage of glue, you won't get much leakage, because on black, when you're using black, you'll see the glue a lot of times on the black if it gets outside. So this is the part you really want to be careful. And fold that. So I just kind of go a little bit further down, a little bit away from the fold there, the score, and then I just line it up. Just kind of making sure it's lined up, getting that excess off. Forgive the hands. I've been doing a lot of crafting, and I didn't have time I don't do manicures or anything, but it's really dry here. And paper crafting is rough on your hands. I'm gonna go put some more lotion, but if I put too much lotion, I get it on my project. So, like, you needed to know that, but that's the reality. Okay, once this is together like this, we're gonna want to fold that up there, right there. So it'll be about like that. So I put this inside one, this little one right here, this hex. We're going to glue 5 sides, but we're going to start with 3. And the reason we do that, it'll just be easier. It'll help us shape it. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to the front. The one in the front, so right there, and the ones on the side. So there's only just 3 of them. Don't do the far one because I found that it's harder to glue all at once. I tried it many times and I found it difficult, so decided to show you a different way. So I'm lining them up, but I want to make sure that these inside edges line up. So I'm pushing it in. So I pushed it in so this edge right here was aligned with the little fold down here. You could also do it from up here. You kind of push in and you can feel when this hits the inside edge, and you can always verify it by flipping it around. So try to get as accurate as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and add glue to these last 2. So I was a little bit off on that one. Right there. And if a little glue gets on the top here, it's not a big deal because we have a panel that's going to cover it. So we're going to line it up. Kind of folding it at the same time. Making sure it's in place. And get this last one. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'm lining this edge up to the inside tab fold, and then you can apply pressure. So folding these tabs help you to line it up. So that's that. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to take this piece. So normally, remember, we're using all black. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece and glue on just this, and this to the front. So it'll be easier to get in right now than later. So what I would do is just pull this front one back. And I believe this is probably the most difficult part of the whole project are the boots, as far as just really paying attention how you glue it together. Because I spent a lot of time designing just the boots. So I'm just going to go ahead and line this up, and I'm putting the non-textured side of the textured cardstock on the non-textured tab side. And the reason is it just glues easier. But we want to line it up best we can, so you want to line it up on the left and right on that tab, and then make sure it doesn't go beyond the fold there. And we're going to fold it inside. So just pull these back a little bit. So I'm going to get that good and secure. And then fold it down. If we did this part last, it would be a lot more difficult. So I had to think of the steps to make it a little easier to put together. There is a way to do it. It's just a little bit more fumbly. Like you fumble around. So I'm just going to glue the tabs one by one. So I'm pushing this to the side to make sure that the edge of this black gets into this little inside fold here. So we'll do that on the other side. Line up. And if you are new to my files, just line it up again. I have a bunch of 3D, I have boxes, cards, really it's all paper crafting SVG files. So think almost 100, I think 100% have score lines. So, and we have tutorials to help Cricut users, Silhouette users, scan and cut users, and I can always try to answer questions on others. I am familiar with shortcuts a lot too. I currently use, as of this video, which is November of 2023, I'm currently using the StarCraft solo machine to cut the majority of my files. Really, it's because of the speed and how accurate it is, and it has really good print and cut capabilities. So, but really, for me, it's number one, the speed of cutting. Cricut's just too slow for me, and so is Silhouette. So that looks kind of funny, but we have the front going on now. So let's go ahead and add these pieces. So make sure you have the one that says left if you're going to go to the left. So it has L on here, so it'll be just cut out, okay? I mean, you could change it. Oh, you couldn't change it to right because I didn't put it that way. I wanted to simplify the file, so it'll cut out left and right. So we're looking at the left one. So from the front, starting to get a little clog there. That happens. I'm taking the one that says left, so that's left, that's right. And then I'm going to line this up. So carefully line this up, this edge right into that fold. And it should be kind of folded up like that, because it's going to help you put the rest of it together. And we'll do the same on the other side. When you pull it up like that too, you can see the score line there, the score, so you can line it up in that fold. When you're trying to place it, you can place it a little more accurately. And then we want to place this. So I've done it several ways, and the way that I think works the best is putting this on first. So you can go from the top. I'll tell you the pros and cons. If you start at the bottom, it may not line up perfectly at the top, but we have that fur piece that's going to cover it. So I don't think that's a big deal, and I think this part is more visible than the other. So you can start up here and go like this down. But you'll have to kind of get this in the fold. You'll have to get it. Anyways, it gets a little difficult doing it that way, but if you just slide that in like that, go backwards, and then go ahead and add glue to this part. I found that I like this method better, but you can try either one if you're used to doing 3D. Just give it a try if that's what you want to do. I tried it, like I said, a couple times. I always try it different ways every time I put it together before I launch it. So I'm just lining that up so I can try to find the best way for the masses. So I do have to line this up. So I was a little bit off on my inside hex, but that's the reason why we put it in there, because if we just put this top one on, it would be really hard to put it on just without having that inside to line it up. So we can't really put it upside down to add pressure, so you want to go ahead and add pressure like that. Then see, having this little opening, you can easily get your fingers in. So now we're going to go ahead and line that up there. Carefully bending this forward so I can get these in front. And now we're just going to go side by side. So now again, be careful with your glue, because anything that leaks out will be visible at the bottom part. At the top, you'll have that the fur panel that will cover it. But you don't want to get glue on there on your thing. So I'm just gently trying to get this to line up. If you don't get that first one just right, then it's not going to line up. So I'm getting that. Second one. And the third one. You can see it's just a smidgen lower than that top one. So on the other side, just do the same. Go from bottom to top. And then we'll add that back panel. So when it comes to this one, I think coming from top to bottom is easier, but some people may disagree. But let's go ahead and anchor that top panel. So line that up. So once you get it anchored, you can just make sure it's lined up. Well, the better you get it lined up here, the easier that fur part. So the more gap you put in here, the more you're going to have a tighter fur panel. And I'll explain it when I'm putting it on. But you want to get as lined up, the edges lined up to the right on to cut lines as most as you can. Not the cut lines, the score lines as best you can. So you want to kind of put it right over it. Now, I may have been accurate enough, I may not have been, so we'll find out. So I'm going to add glue to these inside panels. And I'm pushing them in so I can push them inward when I'm ready to attach them. So we're going to continue from the top still. So just line that up. Again, we don't want glue coming out and be visible in this area. So I'm at that third one, so I'm just making sure it's lined up. The edge is lined up to the score. I'm trying to push it up just a little closer. And when it comes to this bottom one, it kind of bows out just a smidgen. So you want to angle this, just move it like that. And then I'm lined up, I can see the scores. That's it right there. So I'm just holding that last tab. And then we'll glue the other side. And then once we add these, we're going to do the same. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to go through this real quick, and then I'm going to put glue on all of them for the sake of time. I do it slow usually for sake of video time. But you want to take your time and not get glue on your fingertips like I just did. So you don't want it on the boot, outside of the boot. So I'm going to line that as close as possible as I can to almost like right in the middle of the cut score line. So it gives me a little bit more space up there because I've already lost a little bit of space because there was a gap right there. So you can do this all at once, but if you find it's difficult for you, don't try to rush it. You can always reach in and add tabs to the other, glue to the other tabs when you get the first ones anchored. So I'm just lining it up. Remember, we had this loose thing in here too, but you can see that it's the outline of the boot. So we're getting closer. All we're going to do is wrap these around. So this will wrap around, these will fold around here. If this bulges for some reason, because it gets a little bulgy, like if it's a little bit tight and it's kind of bulging like that, you can always cut it like from this edge to that edge to help it. And what I mean by that, I don't really want to do it, but let's see. Mine's a little bit tight, but I think it's going to work. The way we're going to put this on is just to fold these over. Oops. So you want to fold that over. You're going to make sure that the inside edge lines up just like the other side. And I'm just trying to center it here. If for some reason you can see this kind of moving up a little bit, but you can go ahead and just cut it. So if it were doing something like that, so I'm just going to do it even though it's not a huge problem for me. you could cut it if for some reason you're getting kind of a ripple like that. You can see from the side it's not straight. You could always just cut it like that and glue the remaining. So I'm just giving you I've done it on a couple of them, not all of them, but sometimes I get it in perfectly, sometimes I don't. And then you can continue to put these around. So just the biggest issue is getting that inside edge, outside edge I mean, into the inside edge of this. If I made it too small, it wouldn't line up properly, and that's the reason for that. So I'm going to continue putting the rest here. And then the last thing is just to add that bottom panel. So we're just going to add glue around the edge and add that bottom panel. So take your time to get that right, like that. So now we're just going to put a black panel on the bottom, and that'll finish off the bottom part. So what you want to make sure is you get good coverage around the edge. Again, you don't want it too thick because you don't want it to show and leak out on the sides. And if I go too slow for you, you can just forward through the video. I try to do it at the time I'm doing it, but sometimes I do forward through parts so the video is not super long. But I think it's important to explain things to everybody because not everybody is the same level. So I'm lining it up. So the thing is I can reach in this part through here, but I can't reach in here. So I'm just going to hold it gently in my hand and rub these edges so I can get them nice and as close to the edge as possible. So just get any excess glue. Since I'm using art glitter glue, it does dry clear, so but on black it tends to leave a mark. So I'm gonna do this to get it more pressure, then use a bone folder. Excuse me. I'll just use the blunt end here just to get a little pressure on the edges. Remember, we only have to do the edges, so you could reach in a little bit, or you could use like a dowel or something like that, or chopstick is another, wooden chopstick is another one. So I'm just looking, it has a pretty good edge on it. So one thing I want to mention is this. So when you cut these out, there's a cut line right here. Okay, I normally would tell you not to put a line on it, but it's not going to be seen for me. It probably will, but I can always cover it. Anyways, this is my gift box one. So usually you want to go ahead and start. The one with the cut line is this one right here. So that's where you want to start. One thing I want to note about this is if you are off a little bit here, it's going to be harder for you to get this all the way around. So I'm going to hold that in place and come around. And you can pull it pretty taut. The thicker the paper, the harder it is to fold around these edges. So I've already increased it a couple times. That means glitter paper is even thicker, so that's the one we're using. So there's a couple options. You could just size it just slightly bigger to make it a little longer, but you want to be really, really careful. I mean, like slightly. So the thickness, like I said, of this paper and how close you get to the edges here is the determination whether it goes around smoothly. So on this one, I'm just going to show you really quickly. You would line it up, the one with the cut line. You want to line it up in the center, kind of test, get it centered there, because it's a little bit bigger. There we go. You want to fold it inward and glue it in. So what I also suggest is just trying to pull it all the way around as taut as possible. So I did design this for American Craft textured cardstock thickness, but if you were using like a Recollections or something, a 65, a little thinner paper, it might be go around easier. But I'm going to add glue on this next one, or the last one I should say of this one, on the right. And I'm kind of pulling as I go, and then gluing it inside. So that's what it looks like on the inside. Of course, you probably don't want the pen mark, but I just did that for illustrative purposes. And then we can go ahead and do them one by one. So, but if you're finding, if you put it on first and see if it fits the way you want. If not, you can make it just slightly larger. But when I say slightly, I can't go by percentage because Cricut doesn't do it, but I would say probably 101% or 102% size. But you can't do that easily in Cricut. So you could also dab a little glue down here to hold it down, but it really isn't that necessary. So on this one, I'm going to have a little gap. And it really has to do with the engineered file and how close you are, how close you get the panels. And in the front, I had a little gap. So, but I do the last one, I'm pulling it over once I get that first one to get as close as possible. You could go one by one too, but I just want to make sure by doing that last one. But they do take a second to glue on the inside like this. And if that did bother you, you could always put a little piece of paper underneath, little thing of cardstock. And it's come out perfect for me. Sometimes, other times it doesn't come out perfect. So, but you could put a little piece of white underneath there if you don't like that gap. But I think most people will have it come out somewhat close to perfect, and then other times you won't. Just depends on the paper you're using. So on this, you can see the gap's a little bit bigger because this is much thicker, the glitter cardstock I'm using. So when you go around, there's the cut line, and I can see it from the back. Just make sure you have it really folded really well. But this is Cricut glitter cardstock. I'm going to put a little dot of glue in the front for this one to help me get it in place. And these panels are slightly larger than that, so it's to help with the gaps that you have when you come around. But you see it kind of comes around almost perfect. But it just depends on the boot, or how you put together the boot. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that, and then we'll go on to this little buckle piece I'm going to show you. Okay, I just finished this one, and you can see how close I got the glitter. Got it together on this one, and this one's a little gap. So what I did find out, and I would recommend, I didn't try this before, just add a little glue down here on both sides. I don't think glue is necessary on all the rest of it, but what I'm going to do is kind of press it down and get it closer. So I have a little excess, but this one, like I said, I had more of a gap. But you can hold that down, probably since I didn't do it when I put it together earlier today. But that'll help minimize that gap too. I'm not going to worry about that little bit of glue, it'll dry clear. So now you can see this little buckle that we have on here, and it's not as noticeable. I am using, this is, I think, Cricut white. We're trying to figure out where to get it actually, but it's Cricut cardstock, and I believe this is Cricut as well, but I can't remember whether this is. It could be a vinyl, but anyways, a Cricut. I think that's Cricut. I believe it is. And this might not even be white, but I don't know. I think that they're Cricut ones. So let's go ahead. You don't need to hear me ramble on about that. So you'll get 2 of these belt buckle things, and all you have to do is place this so it'll line up just like this. So you want to line up that little inside circular part with that part right there. So let's go ahead and add it really quick. You want to add glue on the back of this. You know what really works too well is you can always use vinyl. And you could cut all the way through too if you don't want to pull it off the actual backing. And they have some really nice glitter vinyl. So I'm just lining it up like that. It didn't cut all the way through here. Here we go. Got a little piece off. So you'll notice on this one, I have it going, I like to alternate them. So if I have one like going like this and one going like that. So the other one I'm going to put the opposite. And how I place it, I didn't want to put a little cheater mark, and the reason I didn't do that is because some people might not want to use the buckle. So I don't want to have a little cut mark on the side for no reason. So right here, I just put my finger right here. I center it like that, and then put a little glue on the end, and I don't put it at the far end because I want to be able to move it around where I want it. So I'm going to hold my thumb on this, and I'm just going to go just a little bit to the left of this, or low on the camera, of course, below the little score line. You can see where I put it on the other one right there. But once you do one, it's easy to emulate it. So I'm gonna, move it a little bit. And I'm holding it there because I want to see how about, and hold it there. On the other side, just do the same. But you could add greenery or something like that to it too. Because I just like it sitting up a little bit. So they're the same sides. There's no right and left, but I'm going to make one, obviously, the right and left. So I'll just probably do it like that. So I just hold these until it's glued on, and that finishes the boot. Now we have the leg pieces. I'm only going to put together one because they're identical. So that's 2 of them. You just want to make sure they're folded really well before you get started. It's just an octagon, so it's pretty easy to put together. So we'll go ahead and just do one on camera. So, but you want to do both. So you want to fold them really well. The tabs fold back like this. These will eventually fold back like that to glue on the inside of the box bottom part after we start on that box. But for now, they can just stay flat. Just make sure you fold them to get them pre-scored. So we have this little glue tab right here. You just want to add glue around the edge, across the edge. So if you haven't figured it out, probably like I said, the hardest part probably was the boots, the most time consuming. But I wanted it to be 2 projects in one, so you could use it for something else. But you can see you just fold it over, and it lines up perfectly because it's an octagon. Any equal distance polygon, square, hexagon, octagon, hexagon will fold flat like that. Kind of cool. And since this is going to be in the boot, we don't care. We don't need it on top. Excuse me. So we're just going to put it in like this. I'm going to reach in with I have a wooden chopstick that I'm going to reach in to apply pressure once we get this in. So you could do it on the top too. If you want to glue the tabs on the inside, that's up to you. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to because it kind of helps keep the shape. And it actually is easier. Just get a dowel, but just make sure it's flat. Don't have one of those sticky, oh, the skewers. Use the flat end or just cut it off to make it dull. But wooden chopsticks work really well. So you can see I have that in like that. Now I'm going to push this down. I'm just going to gently push it down. So it's in place and they're folded inward. So I'm just going to apply pressure and it should fit pretty well in there. Okay, it did. So now I'm just going to go down and apply pressure on the tabs. So I'm just reaching in with the blunt end and going around the edges, make sure I get those glued in place. And that's it. So that's all we have to do to get it ready to glue to the actual box. So we'll move on to the body, which is the box, and then the head is the lid. One of the things I want to note is the way this goes. So there's a little cut mark right here. Right there. So what you'll notice, that has to do with how you're going to glue it onto this tab. So if you notice, if I line this up, those are the openings for the arms. You'll see that they're lined up. So this rotates like this. So wherever this cut line is, you want it towards here. And you want, this will be the top part of it. Okay? So this cut line should be near here, near the tab. So let's go ahead and start. Go ahead, make sure it's folded already. I'm going to line up this edge to the score line. Just lining it up. So I'm going to go ahead and curl it, and you could use something like I'm going to go like this. Using my hand. Just want to curl it just a little bit. So that's why I didn't fold the tabs yet. And that's just going to fold up like that. Same here. However you want to do it, you can get a bigger dowel, or I found this works, or just my hands. It's not a severe curve, but you'll see like that. It just helps curve it, pre-curl it, so when we put the panels on. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to start with the front. And that's the one with the circle tab. I'm folding that up. And you can put it like this. Because we have a panel that goes on the outside, this is textured cardstock, so it's non-textured on one side. This circle is centered. So it doesn't matter as long as you get this on here. We're going to glue it on like that. I like to do glue on the non-textured side when I can, just because the texture kind of makes it a little bit harder to glue. So you can just line up, the easiest thing is to line up that hole. So I'm pushing it so this edge meets the inside of this fold. You can see that's glued on that side. Now we're just going to glue each side on. So the way it's going to glue on is like this. just glue underneath it all the way to that point. So I'd say you could do all of them once, but I'm going to do about half of them. And that's why curling it helped. A little bit more than half. And this is just going to go right underneath it. So we're just going to move it right underneath. And we're going to start from where we glued the big tab and then go from there up. So we want to push it in. And I'm going to start here. Get in the middle. And I'm pushing it. As I push down, I'm going to push in from the side. So it'll get that nice curve. And once you get those glued, you can go ahead and do the rest of them. So looks like one of them didn't glue. If you get a little glue on the outside of this, it's not a huge deal because we have, obviously, that's why we have the tab showing. We have a panel that goes over it. And actually, this is quite easy. It's just getting used to it. So the biggest thing here is making sure this last tab up here is pushed in. So you're going, sometimes I forget and I don't get that real on the curve. Just get that last tab in and it, so you don't have it jutting out. It doesn't really hurt a whole lot. Paper crafts are somewhat forgiving. I think it's less forgiving on something like the boot. The boot's pretty precision, but this one, if you're off a little bit, you're not going to really see it once the whole project's together. So we're going to do the same. So we're going to do the same on the other side. So it may not duplicate it, but I'm going to tell you, you want to do the same thing. You want to do like half because we're not going to be, I'm not going to be able to show you because you can't see inside. It's so right-handed. Let me switch around so you can see it. So I'm pushing in from the side, same thing. Even the lid's going to be like this too. Before we put the other side on, we're going to put the legs on because it's easier when we have access to it. Oops. And with time, it'll become easier to do these kind of things. Unless you're seasoned, you're probably faster than me because I'm a slow crafter even after doing it all these years, but much faster than when I started. It does get easier. Let's make sure it looks good on the outside. Have a little glue showing, but that's okay. We'll just let it dry. So that's the beginning of the front of the Santa. So now we want to go ahead and take the legs and we're going to insert them. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to place it in here. So we want to line up the edges though. So I'm just kind of lining it up. You can see right there. Kind of push them in and then line it up. I'm going to get one attached first. So I'm going to attach one on the back because it's harder to reach back there. So let's get the back one done first. You could start on the front too. So I'm just going to slide it through. Make sure that one's kind of pushed in here. If I get a little glue on the inside, I don't really care, but outside I do. So it's a little awkward at first, but I got them all through. There. See it? I'm going to go ahead and line this. I'm lining it up so the tab fold, the inside tab fold just lines up to that one side. And then just applying pressure. So, like I said, I was doing the back ones because they are the ones that are going to be harder. But then as we push this through and just kind of nudge it through a little bit, I'm going to do the one right across from it, which is this top one right here. Make sure you can still see it. We're just going to fold it up and glue it to the bottom like that. And usually with octagons, what works better for me, you kind of have to jiggle it in, make sure you get it lined up. But what works better for me is to go do the middle ones first and then do the remaining ones. So if I do glue on this one, oops, I'm not very good at doing that in the camera the first time. Let me go ahead and just put the glue on so I don't mess up the project. So you can see I did the middle one there. Just gonna kind of nudge it through, make sure that that edge is lined up to the inside, the fold of that score. Same thing on the other side. So it's just that side. Trying not to get glue on the outside. Inside's okay. And then I'll do the glue the remaining 4. So we'll have to do that. I'll attach the second leg, and then we'll move on to finish do the finishing touches, closing the box and adding the panels. You can see we just glue these all down. And also get the little rogue, see that one just pulled up, so I'll put that down. So let's get that second leg in and then we'll proceed. You see with the second leg, the body's kind of forming. So we have this panel. We just want to go ahead and glue it in here to cover that. So it's slightly smaller, so it won't so it will be, you know, small enough to fit and cover all those openings. Since it is a gift box as well as a decoration, we want to make sure that you can't see too much of the mechanics. So you can see some tabs on the inside, but like the arm tabs, it's kind of pointless hiding those. You can also add just glue around the edge of the panel here. So I'm just pushing it in to make sure it doesn't interfere with that tab. And then you just have to use your fingers to go around the different areas in there. So that'll hide that. So the next thing we want to do are the arms. So the arms are just going to go off, this is the front, like that. They're going to go in here and glue in the inside. But first we need to piece them together. So there's 4 of these. There's 2 each of these. Here's on the textured side. And actually there's 2 each of these. So total of 4. And then 2 each of these. Total of 4, 2, even 4 of those. Those are the same size. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to put these back to back first. So you'll see there's little cut lines there. Those are, you don't want to glue those. Those are the tabs that will go on the inside on the box. So we want to put it like this. So it's going to be double-sided. I'm going to add glue really close above these little scores. And then lining the non-textured sides, just lining them back to back, just making sure you don't add glue on those. And then just try to line these up. It gives it a little structure, the dimension. So then we're just going to layer on the mitten pieces. I'm taking my time. And then we'll go ahead and glue this on. If you do like this project or any of our projects, I ask if you could give us a little thumbs up or like on the video, and or subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. And if you hit that little bell to the right, you'll be notified when we have new projects like this, freebies, other tutorials. I haven't been doing a lot of other tutorials lately, so just focused on designing when I can. 2023 has been a busy year. We'll go ahead and add this last glitter piece. And we'll let that one dry for a bit. Sorry, I had to clear my voice. So we want the arms to go up like this. So with the thumbs up. So what we want to do is just slide them in to attach them. And it's bigger than you need it to be, intentionally. You can go towards the top or bottom. I'm just going to add glue to one of the tabs there. It's going to fold backwards. I'm going towards the top. You can go in the middle too. I just have a little extra space just in case. And then you want to do the other side. So, like that. And then, I have a frog in my throat today. We'll go ahead and glue the rest of it. Like that. The other two tabs. So go ahead and attach the other arm and just make sure you have the thumbs up, and then we'll put that back on. So now we want to attach this. So you want to be really careful not to fold down the arms at this point. So now you've got a little something you need to be fragile. So that's the front. This is the back. So we're going to put the back on. So we're going to do the same. The only difference is that we kind of have to do it very carefully because we've got all these things sticking out of this box now. So I'm just put it on its back. I'm just going to do it this way. And then with the cutout, it kind of helps because you can line it up. If you can line up that little square, then see if you can get it lined up right there. A little cutout on the tab. I'm just making sure that that the bottom edge is lined up to the inside of the tab fold. And just applying pressure. And so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. The difference is I'm not going to be able to show you as much, but I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to talk through it. Partly because I have it's just repetitive. But we're going to put glue on half of these tabs and do the bottom half of that one, the bottom half of this one, bottom half of that one, and top half of that one, top half of that. Or at least just make sure you do half and half because it's easier to reach in. I'm going to push these down. To get just partial in, and if you do all one side, it's hard to reach in on the other side. So I'm going to flip it over carefully like that. And you can just watch me do it. So I'm doing the same thing, but you just can't see it inside. Just like I did the other side. now we have both sides on it. And so we're just going to add the panels. So we do have to just add a couple things. So the panel that, there's some cut lines on here, right here, there, and there. And that's for the, we're going to have to put on the belt. So that'll help us place the belt. We also have these pieces. So this is the back. It does not have the cut lines. So that's just simply the back panel. So you just want to put this piece on. They're both the same size. We're going to go ahead and layer these, put that, and then the belt buckle. So let me just put that aside for a minute. So we have that. So we have the buckle here. Let's get that started. So that just lines up right there. So we're just going to go ahead and layer it on. So I'll just start at that bottom edge, line it up, then wiggle around. So if you put too much glue around the edges, it could come through, but just kind of go in the middle. And then for this one, we need to layer this. So we can put this on first. So this will go over like that. We'll just do it right on the red. We could have just layered it independently, but let's just go right onto the panel. So make sure you have the one with the cut lines again for the front. I'm just going to line it up on the edge here. And it lines up at the top too. So I'm just kind of scooching it into place. And then just for the layered look, we're just putting this one on the bottom and then the belt on the top. Or, you know. So those little cut lines are to help us just place that belt properly. They do come in handy when doing something very precise. So right here, we just want to line them up on the left and right between these two cut marks. Have to concentrate, can't talk, else I might not get it in the right place. And that's the front of the box. It's starting to look like Santa. So this is the front. So remember the ones with circles in the front. So what we're going to do is line it up at this top edge right here. So both panels, make sure you have the, like I said, it goes on the place where the circles are. So look for this circle, and the back is the square. So let's do the back first. So square is back. Square is back. And I'm doing that regularly because I want to make sure that somebody doesn't mess up. But you know, it's not a big deal. It's the octagon. It's just, it's not going to look much worse if you did the opposite. And I'll explain. It's when the boots go on. But I looked at it. It really wouldn't be that big of a deal. I still try to get you to do the, as you know, to put them on the right side. But so we're just going to line up this top edge. So this is our practice before we do the front. So we're going to line this up here. And then it'll going to go left and right to line it up on the sides. So now I'm just going to flip it up on its side, being careful of the arms, and apply pressure. So make sure you don't add glue to the back of these panels. You want to add glue right here. So while I'm adding pressure, I'm going to go on the other side. Just going to add glue on this side. Oops. And get as close as the edge as possible. I know this would be like a fantastic gift to give to somebody. I wish which I might get the opportunity, but I wish I could send it to my mom easily. I might, but I might see her before Christmas. She doesn't know it yet, but we'll hopefully, crossing my fingers, that comes to fruition. That I can bring her this one, actually. This would be the one I'd bring her. I don't keep all my projects. I give away a lot of my projects, so I can't take pictures of them again or even show them to you guys again, so I'd have to remake them. So I'm just being careful and lining it up from the top and looking at the sides at the same time. There. And then we can flip it upside down when we have it where we want it. And that back's pretty much good. What I'm gonna see if there's any gaps in here. If so, I can just add a little bit more glue. And what I find works well, I'm gonna lift here. Get one of these iCrafter brushes, and I'm just gonna do a little. Once we're done here, I'm just going around the edges, making sure. And sometimes what's really nice, I just have to get a little spare piece of paper here. I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges a little bit. I know everybody does it different, but if you ever want to kind of not hide, but it helps with things like this. I could have done it earlier. So it wasn't as close as I wanted to there. Got to be careful of that arm. Don't want it flopping. But you could make the arm not out anymore, so pick it up when you do things like this. So I'll fine tune it. Be careful here. I'm going to take a little piece of paper here. Add a little glue to it. I need to just get that little edge. This frog is just not going away. This doesn't take away from it, but I just wanted to get that gap out a little bit. But I can work on that gap too. So I'm going to fine tune the... I will probably do it afterwards. Add a little bit more here. Just add it. I meant to put the seam, by the way, in the back, but I unknowingly put it in the front. But I don't think it'll be that seam. The seam of the side of this. So I'll go ahead and ink more of that, and then we'll go to finish it, to fine tune it. But this is just like little things to hide imperfections. But some of this won't be seen anyways. A little glue. Dry glue gets everywhere. Some of this wouldn't be seen anyways because we're going to have the beard coming out in front. Let's go ahead and we'll move on to the... Actually, I'm going to show you how to attach the boots. So now we're going to attach the boots. So you have to determine which one you want to be the inside or outside. I'm going to put this one to the left only because of the gap there. Not a big deal though. But I'm going to add some craft rock. So what happens when you put the legs on, so we're going to glue them down. I'm going to show you one. So the front, I want them to go out just a little bit. So when we put them on and we're going to glue them down, I want to line up this little section to this. Now you could go a little further if you wanted to, they just don't line up. So that's what I meant by if you accidentally switch the back and front, you could just rotate it and go opposite. It's pretty tight, and I made it tight on purpose, but it just puts the feet out a little bit like that. But what you'll notice, I'm going to put both of them on. So we don't want it to top. It's a little bit, it goes back just a little bit. It'll be fine if you put something in it, but it just kind of wobbles back just a little bit. So we want something to hold it down. So if you have beans or craft rocks, something like that. So we're going to put those in here. And 2 will do it, really, for these. So these can be found in the US and dollar stores, or you can use beans. So we're going to put them in the base there. So when it's placed, when we get them attached, we don't want them super heavy. I'm going to move it to the front. I got to make sure it's out of the way too. But it won't wobble at all. So you have to put as much that'll work. So you want to test it first. And then what you can do is basically glue them in. So again, you need to make sure that anything you use is in the base for the weight, or right in here. Otherwise it'll, I don't mind it kind of making a little noise. So we're going to add glue to both of them. I tried to the first time, but I actually had hit my rock. So you need to make sure that you don't hit your rock. Or whatever you have in there, and you could place it in the front. So I'm just checking inside before I put them in. So you can see it. We'll do one first. And then I'll picking up the other one to do it, making sure my rocks are in the front there. And then I'm lining them up. So I'll show you in a minute. I'm lining them up right here so they line up. This panel lines up with that panel. And the same thing right there, this panel lines up with that. And make sure a rock doesn't come flying out here. So you want to hold it and just make sure you rotate fix your feet so they're just slightly going left and right. Not a whole lot. So you want to hold it until it holds. So you don't want anything super heavy in there and you want to lift it by its feet. And then the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to get this inking done for the face. So we have the face pieces here. So this will be for the eyes and the face, the eyebrows, eyes, and hat. So right now we want to do the eyebrows. I'm going to use, this is it doesn't have enough color. I can't get exactly the color I want. So I'm going to use this abandoned coral, which is distressed oxide. I'm going to go ahead and use it on the face a little bit. So I want to rosy the cheeks a little bit before I put on the beard of the face a little bit later. So I'm just going to go just softly doing it first, and so I can get the color. So don't just go on with the ink. You want to probably test this. So I tested this on another one already. Get a little pink. So right where you can see where you can use this to see where it is. You'll just see it right beyond that. So just have a little pink going on there. And if you don't like the color, I'm just going to add a tint on the rest of it. I'm really not adding much. I'm just pinking up its face a little bit, but really it's just the cheeks. And the nose, we want to do the same thing with the nose. So I'm just going to take the excess and start here. Go around the side. So this is just a taste. I mean, you could always do an extra cut just to test it, see if what you like. And so you can see that it just gives it a little bit more contrast, like that. So it just needs a little bit more pink. Not pink. I like the abandoned coral because it's like not too pinky. It's got a little peach in it. But the paper I had on hand was just too pink for the face. So this is the alternative. So I don't want to piece together the face completely, and I'll show why, because I'm going to use some foam tape, stuff like that. So I'll probably pop that up. So I know that I'm going to pop that up. So I don't want to put that on the face because it's going to be hard to put on. But I can't put it on the beard first, but I can put these two together. I can put the hat together, and I can put this backing to the eyes. So that just goes behind the eyes. You could just go around. I'm just guesstimating where it's at. Making sure the texture side goes down so you can see it through the eyes. And then place it there. So it'll get the eyes in. And we can get the two... We didn't get the eyeballs. We can do that. So you don't want to piece the whole thing together for a reason. Get a little, pop out that last black piece here. It's because of the way we have to put it on the lid once it's done. But let's just get this prepped as much as we can. We'll put the eyes on. So I'm using the pick-me-up stick. There's other tools like that out there, but this, I've had this forever, so there's no need for me to buy another one. I'm not one of those influencers that I don't sell, you know, I don't push a lot of products, so just whatever works. So I'm just going to put a little glue. I was going to pick it up like that, but I don't think I can, because I need to add glue to the back. So I'm just going to put it right about there. Just towards the bottom, middle, with the little holes to the right, I'm going to keep. So the pick-me-up tool didn't help us with this. Probably use them for the eyebrows though. I'm going to put that on last too, so remember the face is sideways, but I want to put it about the same place on the other eye. So that's ready to go. Then we can go ahead and center this. And when I get it onto the face, I'm going to pop up. Like I said, I'm not going to put this on yet, but it's going to pop up like that to give it a little dimension. And then we'll be ready to put it on once we get the lid together. And I'm putting most of the glue on this just because, like that. I get the dropsy sometimes, especially if I've been videotaping for a long time. I get tired. And it's been a couple hours now, so. There's a lot more raw footage than you see, so I have to forward through things, and my voice obviously gives out sometimes. And I'm glad I went with the glitter cardstock because it really does make it stand out better. It's just hard to find white. But again, my tip is if you can find a good white vinyl glitter, then you can go with that. It's just a little bit, you have to cut it a little bit different, and you can just put it on directly as vinyl or cut all the way through the backing. So let's go ahead and put together the lid. So So before I start doing the lid, I just thought you'd find it comical how I put more weight. So you can put something heavy in there. So I put my 2 glues I use, Barely Art Glue and Art Glitter Glue. The bottles fit in there so you can see how big the box is. To give it some weight to hold down the legs to get it glued. So I'm going to let it sit there still longer until the end and see how it goes. So I just thought you might want to see how you could just put a little weight in it, and that might help. Okay, when you have the pieces here, you're going to notice a couple things. So these may seem similar, the ones with the circle, they're for the front, but they are slightly different. So one of them has a dashed cut line across the bottom. That one is the front panel, so you want to put that aside. Okay. And the other one has no cut lines at all, so put that aside for later. And that's for the outside panel. And these two, this is the front and back. So you'll notice they have little tick marks here, 1 here and 2 here, 2 here and 1 there. It's because these sizes are different. So if you look at this main file right here, you'll see 1 on the tab. It'll say 1, 1, 2, 2. So that's how we're going to line them up. So we still want to get this curled. So this is, to me, it's easier to do something like this. So it's going to go around like this. So this is similar to what we just put together. So I'm going to show you one side, but it's basically the same. The biggest thing is lining up things. So we're going to go like this, and this is a valley fold right here. So the one cut has to match the one cut, and it'll line up and go around. So I'm just going to fold one side of the tabs in so we can get them flat on the table, doing the same method we did earlier. So we're going to take this number 1. Doesn't matter which side you really start with, but the way it's going to go is either like this. If I want to do it on the I'll do this one. It has to go this way. Yeah, like that. Okay. I want to glue the non-textured side, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm just going to line this up. So that's the 1 and the 1. So as long as those match, we're good. So we're going to go to a 2 on the other side. I didn't have to put it on both sides, but I just wanted to be clear. So I'm going to do these in 3. Put a little bit more glue there. In 3 times. So I'm going to do it a third at a time. So you've already seen me do this several times in the video. It's nothing new. So what we're going to do is flip them under. And I can flip a couple more too so they don't get all messed up. And I'm going to start wrapping it, starting from here, then pushing under as I go, like that. So if there's a little glue on the inside, it's not going to really matter. It'll dry clear. And so we'll do the next third. So I just like to, if you do it in pieces like this, it's easier to put your hands in. So the other side I won't be able to really show you because this will be covering it, but it's the same process. So we're going to show you one side, and you can watch it. I'll just speed up the other side so at least you can view it. And then we can put the face on after this. Let's go ahead and continue. I'll speak through this one. You see I'm just kind of lifting it up, pushing it under, I don't really care if there's a little bit. I mean, yes, I'm getting glue on my table and a little bit on the inside. And I don't care if it's getting on the outside because I'm going to cover it. The biggest thing is that we're putting the correct side on. And I will start the other side so you can see. I did this a couple times and found out that I don't want to do this yet. I want to do that last. So just like we did before, we want to make sure as we're pushing in that we're pushing it in all the way to the top. So right in that indentation there. Because we want to make sure that one doesn't just get left behind. A lot of times when you're doing designs like this, you need to just make sure you get that last little tab glued. Let's see, there's a gap right there. Just going to make sure I'm going to hold that one. Add a little more glue to these so I can get those down. You can do it like that too, or put it on the table. So this one wasn't cooperating. Let's get it pushed in against the edge there. And then here we go. So that's one side. So when it gets to the other side, you're going to probably want to, I thought it was easier, it just depends on who it is, to start from this side. So whatever number that is, that's 2, make sure you have the 2. So it's upside down, but the 2's still on this side. You can see it. It cuts clean through. Right there. So, but we're going to start here. And then we'll continue doing the same thing we did on the other side. So as I'm finishing this off, I have to kind of arrange my hands to be able to reach in there. So I'm almost to that last one, making sure I pushed in that last tab. But you may need to re-glue things like this. So it's just harder to reach in. And then just get this last tab on. Then we'll go ahead and put those top ones on. Okay, so I put them on backwards. So if you put them upside down, so if you put the texture side out, so this is non-textured, then this is the back. And this is the front. So the front should be going towards the left. So that's, I know that's confusing, but this is the front. So make sure whatever side this has the hole in that it'll fit is the front. So let's go ahead and put, I'm going to put the back on first. You want to line it up best you can, probably towards the bottom and the sides. So this is the back one. Once I get it in place, I'll just apply pressure against the table. So I'm sorry about that confusion on the hole. I thought that would work out, but I tend to want to do glue non-textured to non-textured, so I flipped the panel around, so that could be confusing for some. So there's the one for the front. So at least it tells you that the one with the circle, when you get to the ones with the little cut lines at the bottom, right here, that you know this is the front one, and just know that's where the face is going to go on. I'm getting a towel because I got a little smudge of glue down here. Get it off. So you want to get it as tight as possible, especially at the part where it's going to go in. So this will fit in the top. It's kind of hard to flip it over because of my feet being heavy, like that. So we're on the home stretch here. Let's go ahead and line this one up. We just have to add the face. So now that we have this on there, we can go ahead and put the face. So we're going to start with this piece. So now this is where this cut line comes in. So we want to line this right here up with the little cut pieces. So we want to line it up. So that's going to help us align this properly up here. Otherwise it might be a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to start there and then feel around to get it lined up. I'm already feeling happy seeing the Santa face finally coming to fruition here. I'm just getting the eyebrows ready. I'm going to put those on after so we can place them. So here for the beard, there are some cut marks right here. Right there. You see the cut marks right here? We're going to go ahead and line this up so it'll be lining up right here, here, and right here. So that'll show us where to place it. Again, that's just to help us put it, because if you kind of can't figure it out, that's just a way for us to know where it's going to go and how to glue it on the box. So one thing I want to do before we glue that though is when this goes into the box, like down here, this goes in. We want this we don't want this to hit the front of the box. So we're just going to go ahead and curl the beard just up a little bit. So when we can do it a little bit more once it's on. But we're only going to glue to below here, so you can see where we're going to glue. So make a note. We're going to glue down here. So don't go any higher than that. And then the rest of it I'll put on here. Just put a little bit on here, kind of. So let's go ahead, we'll line it up. Just carefully, we want to get it in place. And just a note, the beard is wider than, it matches up at the top of the head, but it's wider on the sides. So we're not putting any glue any lower than there. So we're just going to apply pressure there. And I still want some gap there. So this is just a minimal gap that we'll have to help it go into the box. Then we'll go ahead and add this. Oh, we're going to put, foam tape on that. Let me get that. So here's some foam tape on it, and I'm just going to line it up. This is the reason why we didn't put it on earlier. Whoops, don't put it on upside down. So I'm just lining it up. And then we'll put the hat on and the eyebrows. So the hat will line up right there. You see the curve right here? You're going to use the curve there to line it up. So I'm going to put a little bit, whoops. Don't put it all the way, I'm sorry. That overlaps. Put it right here. I forgot. I have notes, but when I'm in the midst of it, I don't really look at my notes as much as I should. So you just want to line it up, and you'll see that it'll go right beyond right here and there. So just place it lightly and get it in place. And then you can go ahead and place the eyebrows. So however you want. I didn't put marks on it just in case people wanted to put them in certain places. I mean, if they wanted it slightly different or... Put it like that. Have a little dry glue up there. It's going to finish the snowman. So we'll go ahead and see if we can... I'll show you the lid, but I'm going to try to zoom out so we can see more. You can see my workspace too, but let's see if we can get the whole view of it. So I just carefully put it on its back so you can see that this is how it is together. I still have those rocks kind of moving around in there. And that's the back. And the lid comes off like this, so I'm going to show you from the side. Like that. It is a snug fit. And that's it. It's our Jolly Snowman gift box. It's fun. It's good to add a gift.